Guess I should have paid better attention in class, huh?
My cherry blossom, did Dana not say he would bring Belle in his shirt pocket so that he might experience your birthday party too?
My nod was slow as I processed. Uh-huh.
Look, Zero's boyfriend is immobile right outside the door. Check his pocket, no? Maybe he can help.
Arcady suggested with a rumble. I blew a kiss up to him. You're the best, Arcady. Carefully making my way back toward the door, where everyone stood stock still, I squeezed around an officer the size of a tank to get to my detective friend. I love Dana. Smart, tall, and handsome, with his sandy brown hair and tanned skin from days out on the pickleball court with Wynn. He was sort of like my little brother, even though we're almost the same age. I know I tease him something awful about his bromance with Wynn, but he's such an important part of my life, of our lives, and he was always willing to go the extra mile when it came to anything that had to do with Belfry. And to think, he'd once been petrified of my familiar. Nowadays, they had bro dates a couple of times a month. Shooting his frozen, handsome face an apologetic smile, I whispered, "Sorry, officer followed the rules, but I'm in a jam." I took a quick peek around the sidewalk just outside the door, grateful it was later in the evening and Trish's store was located in a more secluded area on Main Street, or I'd have some splainin' to do. Apparently, I hadn't frozen everything. The ocean down by the docks still roared, seagulls still cried out, looking for food. In fact, I heard raucous music coming from the bar on the pier mingled with laughter and the clank of dishes. I tried to remember what Belle had told me about the scope of my power to freeze things, but I couldn't recall the extent of the radius. On tiptoe, I reached inside Dana's shirt pocket and found Belle snuggled up in a ball, quietly snoozing as if our part of the world hadn't stopped. Because he's my familiar, and the guide who'd taught me how to use my magic in the first place, he's unaffected by its power. Thank gravy for small blessings. I scooped him out and gave Dana a quick pat on his chest and a peck on his lean cheek. You're aces for babysitting, Officer Nelson, but I'll never admit that to your face. Inching my way back inside the door and threading through my new friends, Belle in hand, I rubbed his tummy with my finger. Belle, wake up! I need help! Belle stretched his tiny webbed feet and yawned. Boss? He sat up in the palm of my hand and looked around. What the flibbity jib's going on? I gave him my best sheepish glance. I think, in my panic, I froze everyone by accident. Why were you panicked? What have you done, Stefania? Belle, stop interrogating me and help. I don't have time to explain. We'd better hurry up or I'm going to get caught. And you know what they do to witches, right? They burn them at the stake. Ah, baloney, was his dry answer. They don't do that anymore. They lock them up in institutions and let scientists do diabolical tests on them all day long. No fire necessary. Belle! He scoffed a tiny sound. You can't remember how to reverse the spell because of what, Stevie? I made a face at him. I don't have time for chastising right now. Save that for later. We're in a fix here, buddy. Help me, please. Because of what, Stefania Louise Cartwright Winterbottom? It's winning him, keeper of all the magic, and it's because I didn't pay attention to you, okay? Now help, I hissed, my panic rising. If Belle could make facial expressions, he'd be giving me the I told you so stare of doom. Because of focus, Stevie. That's what you lack, lady. Now focus on your hand and send in your fingers the magic it needs to reverse this. Then say the words, reverse that which will not budge. Consider this my magic snudge. I repeated the words, focusing on aiming my fingers at the store's entryway. Now zap 'em, Belle ordered.